Growing of potato onions in Estonia. The growing models of the Olbe leaders along the lakeside Peipsi are growing it either in a 3-year growing method or a 4-year growing method. And there are many ways how to show this, how this is done. And I have in this presentation also brought forward these different ways. So let's have a look at this 3-year growing model. The first year, the black seeds are sown. And in the autumn, you get sevok. It's a small sowing onion, which you the next spring again sow again in the soil, and you get first year selling onions as outcome. And those then are sown in the spring, the 3rd year, and the largest among them are grown in separate beds in order to produce black seeds. So in the autumn you will get vaborka, the 2nd year selling onions, and black seeds, and then it starts again from the black seeds again. Cultivating now from black seeds, or you could actually cultivate these also as potatoes, that you put the onion as it is into the soil, and that will reproduce, of course. But there is a tendency that they would get them more quickly virus diseases and other diseases, so producing them from the black seeds will both give a broader genetic basis, but it will also then you will get healthier onions as well. You could also do this now in 4 years. You start in the same way. You put your black seed in the soil and you get the sevok, it's the small sowing onion. That one you put in the soil the next spring, and the autumn you have the 1st year selling onion. It's called the seed onion, and that seed onion will the 3rd year spring be then put into the soil, and you get the 3rd year in the autumn the 2nd year selling onion. And first from this 2nd year generation you are choosing the largest one to become the mother onions, which you put into the soil then the 4th year in the spring, and in autumn you will get the black seeds ready. Now this in both of these growing systems you can decide to have a kind of free 3-year system based on that they are sorted according to size, or you could have a more restricted regime that you are only following the hierarchy of the age. So are they first year, 2nd year, 3rd year, or 4th year? But otherwise it goes in the same time. So that means that actually from the 1st year autumn, when you get this small sowing onion, then perhaps some of them are so big that you could actually use them as seed onions, or even as vaborka if they are very big. And this continues then the second year yield again. From that you could also choose to have the 1st year selling onion or the 2nd year selling onion or a seed onion from in this system. Whereas if you were following a very restricted kind of 3-year system, then this annual production is the progressing at the age hierarchy, so not according to the size of the onion. So that means that strictly that from the black seed you get the small sowing onion, which is called sevok, and you are selling this sevok, sowing this sevok the 2nd year, and you get the 1st year selling onion. And then again the 3rd year in the spring you are putting the seed onion in the soil, and you get the 2nd year of selling onion. In an analog way, you have this in the 4th year system. You could have this freer system here in choosing after size, or you can have this more restricted system by choosing strictly after if it's a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th year onion. So here is practically the same, where we are just seeing what we are sowing, what we are setting, and what is the yield in the 4-year system. Growing potato onions. So the potato onion, it is dividing itself. If you cut it open, it has several centers. You can see a mother onion bed, and to the right in the upper corner you can see the different onion beds that are coming there. They are for growing these onions, either due to size or due to if they are first, second, third or fourth year onions, and they are then mostly being sold, but they are also being picked onions to be used for setting next year. But the black seed is produced in a separate bed. As you can see here, it is smaller. They are also called the mother onions, and they are then especially taken care of to get these black seeds. These seed-producing plants now, the mother onions, they can be supported with a net. When the small bud, when it's very small, still the bud, it can be brought through a net, and then this net will be supporting it so that it will not fall over. And each plant can also be supported with a pole, so the plant is tied up to the pole. This look. Here you can see how there are these supporting sticks made, and by clothes they are being tied up so that they are not falling over. The other way to do it, when they are small, you have been put them through this kind of a net that is supporting them. An onion flower is not that attractive, and it may be that you have to attract the insects in order to get it pollinated, and this was done in 3 different ways. You have this very fine sugar, like dust sugar, that can be blown above the flowers so that it will fall down on the flowers, and this will then attract insects to visit the flowers. You can also have honey water that is shaking with a leaf whip in the air about the flowers so that it's kind of raining this honey water down on the flowers. You could also put honey on the supporting net that supports the flowers. The black seeds are cleaned in a bowl of water, and good seeds, they drop to the bottom, and debris and empty seeds will stay on the surface, and those can then just easily be collected and thrown away. Here's another example on how black seeds looks like when it's not yet sorted. The black seeds at a saucer in Kolkia. Seeds are stored during the winter in a cold or chilly place, and before sowing the seeds they are taken into the kitchen and kept in a wet clothing on a saucer so that they can start to sprout. And when they started to sprout, then you can sow them outdoors. In Audiasare village, one grower sowed 2-year-old seeds to find out if they are still growing. It's not possible to replant them in the soil after you have done this trial. At Piirissaare, one grower kept the seeds in the clothes, outdoors, in wet soil, in the sunlight, to get them start to sprout. And this is how the onion beds looks after the winter. Actually, this is not yet digged in the spring. The soil is still very wet. And some more examples of how the fields look. You can see that there is water lying in between the beds here, so it's very wet, and that's also the reason why they are doing these high beds. Here you can see the same thing, water, it's very low land close to the lake. Simple working tools are used, and no machinery can be used in digging these beds, partly because it's so wet in the springtime, and this is so kind of specialized that you will not be able to do it with machinery. One more photo how it looks in the beginning after the winter. And here you can see to the right have some beds that are ready-made, and then to the left some that not yet have been digged. And every year they are shifting where the walking space is. So where you see it now, so next year it will be in the middle of the next bed. And usually they also tend to gather residuals from the growing in the same area where you walk. So that will be the middle part of the bed next year. So it has this kind of composing material, in the middle of the bed. And they used also to fill up this walking place before they were digging it around with hay, which then would decompose inside the bed. And that was also a very nice place for the frogs to stay in during the daytime. Wood and ash is added to the beds before they are being digged. And here you can see the manual hard work of making the beds. And when they are ready, it looks like this. The onions are planted about 15 to 20 centimeter with space in between the onions. And with the stock, they are marking the places for the onions to be set. And the first year seed onions. Here you can see that this onion is dividing itself into 6 different new onions. To the left on the picture, you can see the small first year onions, and then here to the right, you can see those that, after putting these seed onions into the soil, then they will grow. So in the autumn, you will have them becoming bigger. And you can decide how old an onion is by looking at this part here of the root system. So the deeper it becomes here and the bigger, the older this onion is, the more years it have been grown. And here first or second year onions. So you can see this one could be a second year onion with these deeper ones as this one here. Whereas, for example, this one is perhaps then first year after the small seed onion have been sown. And here you can see in how many onions this onions is going to divide if you would have planted it. So you can see that here is would have come 3 onions out of this one, and here 2. And the color, it's usually yellow, but we met some very old people who were close to 90 years old that said that there was also these light red colored ones when they were small kids. So there may have been cross-pollinating also with red ones, because the people there, they said in some villages that the customers want to have the red ones also, that if they have some red ones also, they are like selling better off the onions. So there may have happened in some parts also cross-pollination with some modern sorts. Just said that the European mole cricket not is a problem and it's not eating the onions, but people in the villages said that it is, and they told that before the frogs used to eat these crickets, and there was a lot of more of the frogs. But now there are so few frogs that they are not eating them, and then the crickets are coming into the gardens. So they are actively catching these crickets on the soil in order to get rid of them. In the autumn, after the onions have been taken off the ground, they are being dried on different kinds of constructions. Here you can see some. And then they are stored indoors, and they have built this kind of ladders in the roof or in the ceiling inside the room. So their daily room, the kitchen, the living rooms, and then they are storing these net bags of onions indoor. And there are a little bit different ways, but mainly it's in the same way, some kind of pole stick ladders put up in the roof, and on those they have stacked them. Here was another place they stored onions in this way. Also in some wooden baskets. And on this map you can see where, in which geographical places we visited when we made the inventory of the potato onions in Estonia. Estonian Plant Research Institute, Estonian Agriculture University, and Madias, the Estonian Seed Save Organization, took part in the inventory travels.